It's time to change the spark plugs on a 2016 Golf GTI. So we're going to get started underneath the hood by removing the engine cover. Simply pull up on the engine cover. There's four little prongs that hold it into place, and I'll show you those later. Then we're going to remove the nut that holds the wire right over by the coil packs, and then the nut that holds the coil pack into place. And that's going to be with a 10mm socket, and there's a stud that comes out once the nut is loosened. So I'm going to repeat the procedure for the three remaining coil packs and just set the wires up and out of the way and set the studs out of the way. Okay, once I get the coil packs loosened up, I can then unplug the coil packs, and there's a little clip. If you pull up and push with the screwdriver on the bottom, you can hear a click. And you want to do all four coil packs at once. That way all four will come off as a set and you don't have to take them apart, and it's much easier to do it as a set. You may have to pry up on some of the plugs, get each one a little bit loose, and then the whole set will come off together. And there we go. We've got them all disconnected from the coil packs. So we're going to do a little cleanup work around here. It's a little debris, some old leaves and dust. Since the spark plugs are aimed downward, I don't want any debris to get down into the spark plug well or down into the engine. So we just pull up on the spark plug, and there's a boot that goes around the well. You can see down in the well, it's pretty deep down in there. But the coil pack has like a suction to it, so you might have to work it back and forth. The little rubber O-rings that go around the well hold it in place pretty good. So twisting it back and forth kind of helps. Rocking it back and forth also help. Some of them are in there a little tighter than others. There we go. So now that I have my coil packs out of the way, I'm going to use a 5/8 inch socket to remove the spark plugs. So I loosen up my spark plugs. Once I get those loose, you'll be able to see that if you don't have a socket with a rubber retainer, that the spark plug will stay down in the well, and you'll have to use some needle nose to fish out the spark plug. So there we have the spark plug out. So we'll go to the next spark plug and repeat the process. Simply fishing out the spark plug with needle nose pliers. And that leaves us two more to do. Now the spark plugs that I'm going to be using are iridium, and they come pre-gapped to the specified gap for the plugs, so there's no gapping that's necessary. And I'm going to use some anti-seize, put that around the threads, make sure none of it gets up on the electrode or past the threads. But I put this on there, it lets the threads go in a little bit easier, and it keeps them from binding up when it comes time to replace these next time. So I'm going to put my spark plug down in the well and screw it in by hand to make sure that I don't cross thread, and I'll get that fairly tight. Once I get it tightened by hand, I'm going to use my torque wrench set at 30 Newton meters, and I'll tighten down the spark plug, and that'll crush the washer to the specified torque setting. we go. And you'll hear the click of the torque wrench right there. And I'll repeat the process for the remaining plugs using the anti-seize on the threads, working around. A little bit of work. That's all it really needs. Drop that down in there. So when I'm getting the spark plug started, I like to use a 5/8 socket, and I'll use the extension that reaches down in there just to get it started. I can feel that better than using a ratchet. And then I'll use my torque wrench until I hit 30 Newton meters. So that leaves me one left. Drop the spark plug down in, tighten it by hand, and then I'll use the torque wrench once again. Now I can put the coil packs back in, so I have to pull the plug out of the way, and I'll work the coil pack down, seating it fairly tight. The stud that I have to tighten in will get it all the way tightened up, but it's good to get it pressed down as tight as you can against the spark plug. So I'll just push those down as deep as I can into the spark plug well. Sometimes they have to be worked back and forth to get in to the well, get a nice good seating against the spark plug, and get the last one pushed in here. And then I can start working the plugs back into the coil packs. Now I'm going to push the plugs onto the coil pack, but I'm not going to push them all the way in. I need to leave a little bit of space so that they'll give when I go to put the next one on, until I get all of them lined up. And once I get all of them lined up, then I can press them all the way down and lock them in until I hear a click. Should hear a click on each one. All right, I've got to lock my plug into place, and then I can reinstall the stud. And I'm going to start the stud by hand again, just to make sure that I don't cross thread the stud. Then I'll use my 10mm socket, tighten it down, and that'll push the coil pack even further down into the spark plug, making a good contact. And I'll repeat that on all 4 coil packs. And once I get all my studs snugged up, I can put my wires back over top of the studs and tighten them down using a 10mm socket. Make sure we get all 4 of them done. And then we have the engine cover to put back on. Now the studs that hold the engine cover on are here, 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 and you can see the bottom of the engine cover. It just sits over top of the 4 studs and gets pressed into place. So that's how you change the spark plugs on a 2016 Volkswagen GTI. I'm How To Bob. Thanks for watching.